I think I could speak for Rob as well, that we have enjoyed working with New College through the CHAMP program and other programs and internships with New College, and we wish to continue in that in whatever level we can and provide as much support as we can. I don't know how much financial support we can provide, but we certainly can help and participate if you get people together to think tank about how we can develop a sustainable base for NCPAL. I think we would like to be a part of that because of the value that you bring to this community.
Yes. James, you're in the middle.
One of the thoughts I'm still on is just creating internal course programming connected to NCPAL, and obviously you want to stay engaged with local Florida, both local Black history and Indigenous history, et cetera, but also using those. This is the same kind of thing that we've always tried to do in courses here, right? We bring in the local examples, but also teach it in a way to where they can take that wherever they end up going. So when you have the students who are interested in archaeology, place X, place Y, that it's built in a way of where they see it as they're learning the skills to take somewhere else. So it's a way of reframing it. It's a way of reframing as not being focused on you're learning about local Florida stuff. It's that you're learning these methods and you're learning these techniques and these styles of communication that you can apply to any geographic or temporal thing you're interested in.
Transferable skills.
Yeah, exactly.
Andrea?
Well, I'm just going to be the eternal optimist. I think it's important to remember that most people care. People do care. They don't know why they care or how they care or what to do about it. I think people do care, and we forget that sometimes, and we're like, oh, they're tearing down the buildings, and they're doing. But there are a lot of people who care, and I think it's the majority of people who care. We just need to remember that sometimes. Sorry, Pollyanna.
Nathan?
I guess I see you as like an investment broker
Ooh.
in some aspects, and I think that you're putting a lot of your investments in an intellectual account. And what's been said in multiple ways here is that you need to start investing more in an emotional account, whether that's through the media, whether it's through the hearts of the community. And to me, that's where the change is going to happen. You have kids, you have a spouse. When you argue in emotion versus intellect, who wins? Yeah. Right? It's the elephant and the rider, and the emotion's the elephant. So I think focusing there and finding those stories that can relate and continuing to push the composition of the group so that it's not academia. So it's the people that are emotionally connected to things not related, but have inroads into that. I think will produce a lot of fruit and maybe some different perspectives to enrich it and give you more return on your investment as a broker.
I've always been impressed with the Park Service and its approach. Took me a while to really understand.
We're trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
We're like, we could be obsolete with the stroke of a pen, just as quick as they wrote us in. And we're in it 100 years, and we're like, our constituency is almost out the door.
Wow.
And so we're struggling with the same thing. I was telling Jeff, we're also insane in that we keep taking the same approach. We do parks in classrooms, but guess what? Most kids in the classroom, it's not an emotional connection for them. Maybe for the academics in that class, but the majority of them are a captive audience, and it's not emotional at that level. So we're there with you.
That's good. That's
And,
good to know.
and here to help you figure it out.
Thank you. Stevie in the corner.
Well, I think that we need to figure a way to tap into the greater community. My father said, well, when you stop learning, you're dead. And so I think that that's what we can tap into. An older community that is still engaged in learning and would want to be actively involved. to give all sorts of different support to NCPAL.
Rob?
Well, I'm interested in developing a financial sustainability strategy. And so, one of the things we're looking at the county level is how do we develop these sustainable recurring revenue streams? And so things like impact fees for developments, mitigation fees for destruction of sites, should come back to programs like this and programs like the one I run at the county level to help preserve what's most significant in this area, as well as teach about this place. This is a remarkable place. Sarasota County is probably the most remarkable archaeological place I know of, and or at least that I've visited, and I've been everywhere in the state. And so, we really need to figure out sustainability financially for programs like yours and mine. And I think a way to do that is to push that cost down to the people that are impacting our programs by, the developers and the builders and all that. And this is not a new concept. Impact fees are already being imposed for other things. They're going to things that really don't necessarily need the money. We definitely need the money. But development is impacting archaeological resources, heritage resources, and when we destroy them, we're not getting anything back other than maybe a report, maybe a historical marker. We need to bring some money in to keep our programs alive, to protect resources, and to provide better outreach. So that's what we're going to be working on at our level. I think we need to partner on that.
I think it's great.
So I've heard a lot today about wanting to engage with youth, whether in elementary schools or more around undergraduate level or a little bit older. So I would just say do this again with your undergraduates. And I mean, if you want to be ahead of the curve on public archaeology, ask people that aren't ingrained and invested in the field, because you're going to get some new ideas and some fresh and uncynical opinions. So I would say really take advantage of that.
Do you have a fresh, non-cynical opinion? Becky's busy.
Okay. No, I'm just gonna keep working on what I'm supposed to be doing this summer with you, and use this to help me have ideas, strike that emotional chord, but also couple the necessary intellectual jargon that comes with it. That's important to help fuel the emotions, because I know it's fueled it in me. Learning about it has helped me find it like the true passion. And just trying, keep going, enjoying it, and talking to people, I guess.
Hi, for those who don't know me, I'm with Parks and Natural Resources with Manatee County, and one of the projects we're working on is making history more inclusive when it comes to the Hispanic population, the Black population, or Native population. And I think that inclusion and representing that history at parks or signages or in an educational way will reach that emotional connection, and will reach those younger generations that are preparing to literally be the future of our government. It's pretty soon, a lot of people are going to be retiring at the county level at Manatee, and so a lot of new positions are going to be coming in, and it's those people who need that exposure and need to even know the history, because it's a sad reality that a lot of people aren't even aware of this history. And I'm brave enough to say and I can admit it that a few months ago I had no idea, and so I'm trying to be more aware and trying to get this education, this knowledge out to the public as much as I can. So it's really just focusing on that generation that is about to take the next steps towards their educational career, whether it be undergraduate or the professional level. And to work with the counties, I think when we get frustrated with government and the counties, we think at the big picture with the commissioners, but really there's a lot of divisions that can steer projects in your way. And so reaching out to other divisions or just making them aware that this is an issue that we need to work on, and not necessarily having to propose a huge big project, but necessarily just saying, hey, we just be mindful of this, or this is going in this direction we don't appreciate. And most of the time we are very open-minded, and there is a lot of controversy sometimes when it comes to departments and issues, and we just have to follow the person ahead, but making a lot of people aware, kind of a bottom-up approach, is very effective. So try to wrap that up as best we can.
Okay, so, I missed the first part, of the discussion, but the Spoonbill group gave me some final notes, before, so I'm gonna just read what we wrote. So, one of the big things was making the next 3 years set the tone for sustainability in this program. So it's really important for longevity to do that while the funding is there. And to do that through a couple of different things. Setting up almost a business plan that includes regular meetings with different partners. So whether that's commissioners or the people in this room or something, so that even if it's short discussions, everybody in the area who matters to the program knows what you're doing. And then also, like somebody already said, publicity or setting up so the community knows who you are. They talked about setting up flagship projects and maybe endowments, something to make NCPAL known to the people who might not already know.
Yeah.
So.
Hi, Dorothy. I think maybe a really good way to do just what she said would be to take your program into neighborhoods, into neighborhood associations, and use information from the Florida Master Site File for the twofold purpose. One, to educate people about the nature of resources right there in their own neighborhoods, under their own houses. And two, to sort of whittle away at the fear that people have of archaeology, and let them know, no, it doesn't mean that you can't A, B, or C, build your house and make it more friendly so people are not so hostile and afraid.
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation in Sarasota. It's been current for years, and so people are afraid of archaeological sites, and I think but I've never seen an archaeological site stop anything in Sarasota. That is the truth. And so I've seen so much destroyed in my lifetime. For instance, I was at Yellow Bluffs before Jerry was there, and that's just one of many, many sites that have been destroyed, and there's still some extremely significant ones now that are hanging, on the cusp of almost being bulldozed and will be built on in the near future. And we're not really prepared. We're flat-footed right now to take care of them in the way we need to. So there's some really big challenges right ahead of us, and I don't think any of us are prepared yet.
You've been moderating. Amanda.
I contributed to that statement, but yeah, breaking things down into sort of a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year goals, and having a flagship project that maybe it is the Overtown, Newtown area, and you have an archaeological component and a historic buildings component, and you can tackle the policy issue in there while you're doing that, and you can sort of identifying a project that you can piece out into segments that gear with your classes and have a 1 year attainable goal and a 3 year, and then you build in your enough funding for the first year, and then you add some more funding, and then so that you're then calculating out 10 years from now who's going to be giving me that funding, as you build this project. That's sorry.
I'm a bit of her shadow today.
It's okay.
I guess it kind of sounds like you guys struggle with kind of creating awareness of your program and, being involved with the news. I think people have been saying, or, taking advantage of whatever opportunities you have with the media and stuff like that.
The media's always been really good about covering stories. At one point I showed a whole bunch of headlines.
Yes.
But it's ephemeral. It doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
It doesn't produce funding. It doesn't produce institutional support.
Okay.
The Herald Trib, they're happy to take the
They
photo.
can, but
Well,
you
that's-
have to use them. You have to
Yes.
figure out how to then turn them around
So
to
that's the
get
issue.
them to the funding.
Yeah, that's
to,
the issue, is how you
see-
take that
Yeah.
and just like with
Okay.
it.
I was just going to say, if that was the case, I don't know much about the curriculum here at this college, but if you had a marketing program or anything of that sort, maybe you could partner with them to figure out the best way
you have the College
to,
Alliance group, and you should look at who are those partners that have those type of resources within their student bodies, like Ringling College or Art and Design, and be able to then use that as
They
a
can
means.
create a marketing media
that-
blitz as a class project. Mm-hmm.
High five to that.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, is that I think everyone's just saying, utilize, I don't like the word use, utilize this young brain. So that they, because they know how to communicate to one another in a different way than we communicate. So, yeah, like Ringling College Art and
You always have things to say,
Well,
even though you
I-
weren't here for most of it.
I
I
know,
still want to hear
right.
your voice.
Right. But I've been listening to bits and pieces since I've arrived, and there was a question over on the other side about the Colson Hotel, and I got to thinking, it would be nice to get some archaeology on that Colson Hotel, because I'm hearing conversations about the owner possibly getting ready to sell, and who knows what is going to be placed on that, maybe a condo. So I don't know how to get it funded immediately right now, but I know that that's a project that we need to get on right now, because it is going to be sold.
So an interesting point of conversation came up at our table over lunch. Both John and I spent this last weekend at historic houses. I think he was at the Howie Hills Mansion. I was at the Dr. Phillips House in Orlando. And both of these locations are historic buildings that are owned and operated by private catering companies. But being at the Dr. Phillips House, they had gone through a whole process of researching and repainting the house to what it looked like for 1920s era coloring, and doing a beautiful job restoring it. And they didn't really do this well at the Dr. Phillips House, but John was talking about at the one that he went to, they gave a tour around it. And these companies, they make money off of event rentals in providing that space for the community. And so it's almost like a win-win, where like for like a building like this one, we're looking at Sarasota, where we're like, okay, this building is going to get sold and get torn down and have something else built on it. We could always turn to trying to find a private investor who could turn it into that type of like private space where they benefit economically off of it, but the community still gets to maintain the resource, and the resource is maintained with a high integrity.
Now, the Versace house in Miami is now a restaurant. Yes.
So you're saying help the help the owner, maybe make sure that it's not sold to the kind of person that we don't want it.
Yeah.
A condo owner or something.
We could almost actively campaign and seek out someone that would come in with that specific interest of like, and it comes back to this like concept of financial sustainability we've been talking about. Like, this is a way that we create financial sustainability in historic preservation for buildings that we just cannot get the public funding or get the funding for a nonprofit to operate buildings, rather than lose them altogether. Let's take this route where the building is still there for the public to see and still there for them to be able to use. So
that building right there could be a whole. So there's archaeology in the ground.
Yep.
There's a structure still standing, so you can discuss architectural history, right? You're documenting all of that in the process so that you can either help the owner figure out a party that would be interested in preserving it, or you're helping the owner and then it's already done, and then when they sell it to the stupid developer, we have learned the 106 process through all of this, right? And so you're teaching the policy, you're learning the archaeology, you're learning architectural history, you're going to try and help with advocating for preservation, right, and community planning. And then from there, from that site, you can expand this over the next few years into the other properties around it, into the greater neighborhood, and create a much larger community project. I mean, just starting, if you can get that owner to agree, one project could create a number of avenues.
Here's another piece of it too. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say that, like, a project like that, and if you were to create workshops or something like that for developers and
Community engagement.
contractors, tell them the federal tax benefits of adaptive reuse projects like they do in Tampa all the time. Doing that, since Sarasota is such a resort-oriented area, you're not going to stop development, but then that is something that would help foster that ethic, the preservation ethic, whether archaeological or, building-wise. So I think accepting the fact that developers are always going to be there and trying to work with them or kind of make them aware of the economic benefits of it because they want to hear money.
It's kind of like creating basically a heritage interpretation business that does the actual research and sets up a model of how to creatively use it, and that's the product. Whether there's a buyer for it or not is a different issue. That we can't guarantee. But it could become a model for mostly historical properties. But there's probably a way to even do it for pre-Columbian properties.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh
It
yeah.
would be more of a nature, using resources, sort of thing. So that'd be an interesting kind of hook to things. So, Jeff had mentioned earlier kind of projects that are going to happen and how to get a little piece of it. This is going to be more proactive. Okay? But we need permission of the landowner.
Here's
also look at construction companies. Like the construction company that's working on our building just received a contract for the extension of the aquarium.
There's a couple more people who haven't
I
spoken.
wanted to add that another piece of that Colson property project is the daughter of the owners is still alive. She's very old right now, but she's very, very active, and she was on my Facebook page asking about putting up a marker of. She was asking about a cemetery. Remember that the cemetery plot for someone who worked for her family, right? So I'm wondering if she could be involved in this whole discussion and all, because it was her dad that built that Colson Hotel. Yeah.
And now you have an ethnography class.
There we go. Let's have the last couple of people in the back again. Let's see who's there. Alicia,
So I guess my thought would be just which we've heard in multiple different ways, but just somehow releasing and sharing a vision for the community members, whether that be children in school, undergrads, community investors, but really sharing a vision within the community. And I really like the idea, and I had kind of thought of something similar as well. Whoever said about, one of the great things about Ringling and the arts community is, arts connect so much with emotion and history. And I think that probably there could be a group of people at Ringling who could come out with a way to market this history in a way that's very appealing to the emotions of the community. But all that being said, just to cast the vision that the archaeology and the history we have in Sarasota is completely relevant to our future. And I think that that's what people need to see is, no, we're not talking about spending millions of dollars to save a few pottery shards. We're talking about investing in the history of this place so that it is influential in a positive way for our future, and I think that if people can grasp that, then they'll feel that they're investing in something that's going to make, an improvement to our town and, to the people in it. So I think if they feel that way, that they're gonna be more apt to invest, and part of that can be, events that are open to the public, things like that, I think would be really helpful.
Great. Michelle, you want the last word?
Free intern to a good home?
No, really? So thank you all so much for all this input. Not kicking you out, but I think we got a small group discussion. If you haven't gone to see the historic mansions yet, please, the building's all open. But thank you so very, very much for all this time and ideas. It's really very much appreciated.